100% off the strength, man.
Off the strength.
I did it all on the strength, all on the strength. Fuck talking, I'ma do this off the strength.
Run it back, can't relax, that's just facts off the strength.
It's off the strength. Can't get that off the strength.
The land is plain. Raindrops, you're the same, my candy rain. Have you ever loved someone? That was some shit that we used to play legit in the back of the school bus, and I was singing my heart out to a girl that would never give me the time of day.
Oof.
So much
The
you
back
thought
as well, the
that
debauchery went down.
What's one of your favorite back of the school bus memories that you've had?
I'm not going to say this young lady's name, but she didn't have a goatee gag.
No, come on. What the hell kind of school bus did you take?
What's going on, fam? This is KR Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. That's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work.
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength. We'll give you an inside look into all things wellness,
Yes.
culture. I'm a trainer called Tony. Of course, with me, I have a questionable gentleman of extraordinary league.
KR Jones is in the building, Tone.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because it's the return of the variety show. That's when we give you our best foot forward. So hopefully you take your best foot forward. You do that two-step, that tango, whatever it is you need to do to make it on through the week with the best goddamn wellness information available.
Yay.
Brother Jones,
What's the word?
how you living this week, my friend?
Man, my week can be summed up into keep a log on the fire, brother. I told you that. Keep the fire burning, bro. Like, that's one of them songs that I got off in my playlist for my yoga class. And it was just such a metaphor that I needed in life right now of like, man, there's so much going on. You got to keep the fire burning. You got to have something going on. There's always more work to do. And you talked about me having my privilege. I grew up, we had 2 fireplaces, you know what I'm saying? I had to chop wood, I had to stoke the flame and clean up afterwards. So I think realizing those lessons directly correlate into adulthood. I was doing them when I was a young teen, a young adult, but it's like, no, you got to keep the fire burning even as an adult. And I think that was the lesson of the week.
I appreciate that, man. Now I'm going to give you the translated version in my economic strata.
Okay.
Keep the radiator open.
All right.
That's what you got to do out there. When the steam is coming off,
I got the steam sound.
The radiator open. This is when we need the slide whistle again.
Radiator be making noise, fam.
Because I ain't never had a house with a fireplace. Shout out to you, fam.
Word, I'm with that, you know.
I had a fire escape.
We also had heated floors in one of our rooms.
See,
but
now
that's
your privilege is making me mad. Now I'm really starting to get to...
We didn't have a basement, though.
You
get
gonna
what
see
I'm
my
saying?
organic stuff. What the hell is a basement, Kyle? What? They gave you what?
These new shoes?
Who gave you new shoes, Kyle?
I was just trying, you know what I'm saying?
Kyle, let me tell you about my week, my man. My week theme was going to be reevaluating my life energy, bro. Because I'm going to be honest with you, bro. In an era of this goldfish-lens craziness that we got going on, the world is looking real distorted in my mind.
You want to unpack goldfish-lens craziness?
Yeah, you know what a goldfish looks like?
Yep.
When everything you looking outside from that lens, everything starts to look a little weird and wonky.
Okay.
You really need to take some time. When the world is looking a little crazy, you need to take some time, recalibrate the shit that seems like it might be off. And man, there's a lot of shit that seemed like it might have been off going throughout the course of the week, my man. Yo, I feel like we losing some of the greatest contributors to our lifetime catalog. Kyle, I need to know, how can we effectively recalibrate our mindset when life feels like it's overwhelming or it's a little bit distorted in this fish lens world?
Man, I want to think about that question and really just sit with it. And I think that in itself is the first starting point. It's like, can you become stationary? Can you become still and sit with this question of figuring out, well, what does this reset need to look like? I need to figure out what's going on, you know, and to harken back to the episode we did with Pete, man, if you're the opposite and you sit too much, then get in motion, right? Get into action. And I think that that's the only way that you can, you know, recalibrate and allow yourself to adjust to what the next step forward needs to look like. And once you identify those two things, I'm certain you'll have an answer. And if you don't, you need to keep listening to the podcast, because that's what we provide here.
We try to give it to you
off the strength
as frequently as possible. You know,
once a week.
Really try to give you these little life gems to help you figure out your shit, because we still figuring out our shit, man. Somewhere along the route, Kyle, somebody's going to hear it and be like, this is exactly how I need to move. This is exactly where I need to go through, man. So on my mind, Kyle, I really do think that some of the ways that you could help yourself recalibrate is by looking at your behaviors, man. And I really want to get into the behavior aspect of it, because I think that and that alone is going to be the ways to move yourself forward, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is a spirit that I know I see my brother really practice and embody all the time. It's practicing a mindful detachment. Now, Kyle, when I say mindful detachment, what comes up to you?
I think of a parigraha, one of those yoga lessons. You know me.
So you've seen a lot. Come on, bro.
I did, for sure. I mean, that was one of the limbs of yoga. The practice itself is 10% of the practice. There's so much more mental yoga that takes place outside of the mat. And detachment is one of those things. Detaching from expectations, detaching from, standards that you set that aren't realistic, detaching from things that aren't reality is a thing that part we need to focus on. So
when the lens is really fucked up, that's the one that you really need to take a look
80% at. 80% of the shit that you think happened in your head actually didn't happen. So let's focus on what did.
Let's talk about another behavior, Kyle. I want to get into some recalibration through grounding techniques. When I say grounding techniques, what comes up to you, my man?
Barefoot, brother. Like a lot of black people, I'm talking to you. If you can hear this and you hear my voice, yes, you, right? Take your socks off. Take your shoes off. Like, walk around your house. And if your house not clean enough for you to walk around barefoot, that's the first fucking problem.
You need to start by
clean your shit up so that you can walk around barefoot, so that you can ground. And if you can and you're willing to try it, actually go outside and put your feet in some grass. Some real grass, not no artificial turf. Like, feel the earth.
That's that privilege again.
Okay, listen. I had a little backyard growing up. Excuse me, I ain't have an acre, but we had something.
I ain't mad at you, man. So Kyle is suggesting...
And a fireplace. What's up?
He's suggesting that you go outside and walk on some asphalt if you don't have either one of those
I'm not suggesting that at all in New York City. That's nasty behavior. And anybody that does, I pray for you.
All right. So the next thing I want to get into is developing an anchor routine. Now, thinking about the word anchor and thinking about what an anchor routine is, what comes up for you?
First thing comes to mind is a relay race.
Okay.
The anchor is the person that brings it home, right? Like, you got 3 people in front of you that think of those as tasks, right? I did this, I did that, and I got to bring this last one home to complete the day. I think that anchor is what's going to hold up the weight.
Yeah, and I think that the last thing to bring home the day is really in the routine aspect of it. So sometimes you get a little bit more grounded when you start to put that gratitude into action throughout the course of your day and really chart it out. So either that's the stretching, the gratitude journaling, or the goal setting. You're incorporating this as an anchor, because if you have a place that you know you're going to start and you got a place that you know you got to end, it's going to be something that helps you really get back into that whole recalibration aspect. All right, Kyle, I only got 3 more for you. I'm going to make these a little more quick pace, okay? So I want to focus on real world connections. I want to challenge unrealistic comparisons, and I'm going to do this regular self-assessment. Now, I will summarize all of these to be really just kind of reflections of what you already kind of went through, especially in the whole detachment. I think once you detach, you don't have those as many unrealistic comparisons. And the real world connections, when you detach, you get to make more chances to connect in real world, in real time. But the regular self-assessment part is really what I want to come back to in particular, because you have a practice that we've talked about yearly on this podcast that I really do want to evaluate. Kyle, when I say regular self-assessment, what comes to mind?
I think about the check-in, right? A lot of people are looking up and not looking out, right? Like, look out in front of you, check in with yourself, and really realize where you can improve, where you have blinders at in your game, where your weaknesses are. What can you do to really elevate and achieve your highest self? And whatever that means to you, whether it's productivity, whether that's, working out more, eating better. When you get to the best version of yourself, you'll get the best outcome that you can have.
That's what's up, man. And again, I hope that everybody can take some of these lessons and really get it to recalibrate in their own lives. If it's looking a little funky out there, you know where to go. Hopefully, you could take your best foot forward from here after we drop this information. Much like we're going to take this next foot, we're going to move it forward into a little bit of good. We're going to get into some bad.
All right.
And we're going to talk about some stuff that might be a little bit ugly this week, Kyle. That's right. It's time for this week's episode of Rip from the Headlines. And man, first thing I saw come up on my screen was from the good brothers over at EYL, Kyle. They made a post that was talking about researchers creating cancer-fighting nanorobots. And I said, hold the phone. We're starting to move into this new future a lot faster than I thought before. Kyle, these cancer-fighting nanorobots don't activate their weapons, apparently, until they're in the acidic environment that surrounds tumors. And from there, they're able to combat the non-regulated growing cells in a way that has never really seen the likes of treatment before. Kyle, what's your thoughts about hearing how people might be fighting cancer in the future with these nanorobots?
I didn't know we were here. So I'm still trying to unpack everything that you just laid out.
It's real rap, bro.
It sounds like all that money that went to cancer research has paid off. And I'm curious about the implementation of said robots. But I'm also excited that it might be an option for somebody.
I think we're
one person in particular, probably.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, first of all, if you thought the regular treatment was going to be expensive, just understand what this is going to cost you. If they really coming out with something,
insurance is going to cover that.
You know, it's not an insurance-based conversation.
Blue Shield. I don't have them no more. You know what I'm saying?
This is a private practice now that's going to be rolling this kind of stuff out. No, in all seriousness, the cutting edge of where we're going with health and technology is really going to make some of the things that we know today as limiting factors to where life is. We're really going to have to question what that needs to look like. And I like investigating these kind of things, Kyle, because I think in my lifetime, some of this stuff is going to start to roll out. So I'm hopeful, at least, as to where the good intentions from here are going to go. And I'm going to try to land that in that alone for this week's conversation, my man. But there's going to always be another side that you got to pay attention to.
All right.
Moving on into the next joint, my man. Now, if I say the word techno gym to you, what comes to mind?
That company that we ain't going to talk about because they ain't cutting a check, Tone. Why are we talking about it?
Because now, Kyle, they actually might have an opportunity. So now, Techno Gym previously would have never cut you or me a check unless we opened up a multi-purpose facility, because that was the primary people that they were catering most of their workout equipment towards. But this week, Kyle, Techno Gym released connected dumbbells for the home front, and they just might have a need to talk to wellness professionals such as you or me. Now, Kyle, these dumbbells are digitally adjustable, and they also pair with Techno Gym working app. Now, this is something that I think is going to be an indicator that the home front for health and wellness is up for some now more contested territory when you see traditional gyms and gym manufacturers start to move into the home front. People at the Pelotons, people at the Tonals, people at all the rest of these things should start to have some questions, because this is going to make a very contested holiday season, bro. What's your thoughts after hearing that?
It sounds like a hardware company is moving into software, right?
Okay.
Essentially. And I'm thinking about, like, if you typically made equipment for those large commercial spaces, these gyms, and now you're moving into people's homes, that definitely is going to raise a red flag for me if I am a Peloton, if I am an Apple, and I haven't even mastered those spaces, and you're just at the top with some new competition. So I'm looking forward to it. I would love for this kind of smart technology to trickle down into the people that can afford it somehow, right? And I don't know how that would ever happen, but I'm optimistic that one day we could figure that out.
Well, I don't know if that's going to happen, and I would love to see it happen, but what I can tell you is that they are going to start trickling into some other areas. So now I also saw this week, Brother Jones, that Whoop, the fitness tracker.
My bad.
The fitness
you
tracker.
Can't do that without letting me know, brother.
Fitness tracker known to track things like heart rate variability, your workout fatigue, your pulse, your sweating, all the rest of these different things. You can get a lot of information on your typical Whoop strap. I did not know that Whoop was interested in learning more about the psychedelics that you're taking and the physiology that they have on you. So now, this week, Whoop has announced that they're going to start to have measures for psychedelic experiences being embedded into their Whoop strap. Now, Kyle, I have never been on a trip and been like, you know what? I need to know my baseline physiology right now. I need to understand what's going on. But to some extent, I do think that there could be some positive in understanding how to navigate that world with more information. What's your thoughts on hearing Whoop moving into the psychedelic world?
I'm here for it. I'm always down to explore. Psychedelics is one of those things that I dived into years ago during the pandemic, and the acceptance of it is a lot more open than it used to be back in the day. And I'm always here for that merger of science and technology, if you will, or spirit and technology, because I do think they're all connected. So when something like that happens, I'm here for it. I'm not going to shoot it down.
All right, this is a surprise for me, but I'm happy to see that, man. You know, one of the most popular mind-altering drugs out there, Kyle,
You know it.
is going to be caffeine.
Really?
Yes.
I ain't having any coffee today. Damn it.
It's a mind-altering drug. It's available damn near on every corner over here, and people have been grinding and pushing this stuff out there hard, my man.
Grinding.
Speaking of which, did you see this week that Pusha T himself has announced the Grinding Coffee Shop and the Grinding Coffee brand, bro? He rolled this out at Camp Flognaw, and now is going to really start to jump into this coffee world, man. What's it to a Pusha T fan? I really know that somebody who's heard every cocaine bar flipped.
Listen.
So now here your guy is going to be moving a different type of flour and bean. He's going in from the other C into the big coffee bag. What's going on with this, man? How you feel about that side?
Listen, dope don't spoil. You just got to repackage it and reserve it. You know what I mean? And I'm here for this. I want to say that I also saw that Jimmy Butler was working on some coffee of his own.
Yeah.
So Pusha T out here, you know, taking his territory, holding down Virginia and wherever else he at.
That's how most of the other situations that he's talked about in his raps have gotten started.
I think the irony of coffee beans having to be grown and like grinded down is like, you grind it.
It made sense.
If you was grinding other substances, I think that would be easy, you know, correlation to slide into the coffee game.
One would say you might have covered up other substances with coffee before, and now you could repurpose this. This makes sense.
That was always the play in the hood. You gotta get the money over here to go get that over there. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man. Last one that I got this week, Kyle. I'm going to land this in the ugly, bro. Now, I'm all about people getting to their workouts on their own time. I'm all about people really celebrating and embracing this fitness, this health and wellness life, by all means, most of the time. But there's got to be some places where you got to exercise what we're going to call back to common damn sense. Now, Kyle, in the New York Post this week, they talked about an actress who is getting dragged for doing a full body workout in the middle of the airplane, and she is winning their Idiot of the Year award. When I tell you that this Mexican ex-soap opera and fitness star influencer started to get up in the middle of a flight and go into a high intense workout right in the middle of the plane, I wanted to see no more than I ever have wanted before. Where is the in-flight marshal when you need him? Because she should have been fully tackled. If you start doing burpees in the middle of my plane, right? Just know you're getting a Coca-Cola can in the back of your head at some point. What's your thoughts on that, bro?
That Coca-Cola hand to the head is just visual. It's just sitting with me for a bit. When I think about commercial flights, right? Like if somebody coughs too loud, I'm annoyed, right? The kids and all of that. But if you're talking somebody got up out their seat and was doing a full body workout in the aisle just because you missed your gym time with this flight, no, the plane. The situation has to be neutralized.
Exactly.
Right? And the can just might not do it. You get what I'm saying? Like, force had to be taken, measures had to be taken. This is crazy. Do you know what show she was on? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what Mexican soap opera show she was on, but let me tell you.
Sábado!
Sábado, you got there. No, that's not Mexican.
No. Come on, fam.
You already on a list for today.
The channel though. You see me put up my Biggie, the Duolingo Biggie.
There's something wrong with you.
That was for y'all.
I appreciate it, I guess. That's going to be it from my side of the fitness streets in this week's Rip from the Headlines, man. What's your thoughts?
Listen, I see it. Nah, the high knees on a commercial flight is crazy. You can't even get that off in first class. And you got nerve to be doing this in GP with the rest of us?
With the squat jumps, though.
Nah, fam. You got to be neutralized immediately. We got no time for none of this.
This is why. Where's the flight attendants during this whole thing? I wouldn't have even had my camera out. I would have pressed that little button. You know the
she
button?
About to be taking buses,
the call button,
buses and trains for her next travel. Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, I don't know what travel news this needs to be on, but a fight would have happened for sure. At minimum, she's getting a stern talking to. You know, that was ugly. I got to give you my own good, bad, and ugly. It dawned on me on the way here that this is similar to a weekend update, so to speak. It happens on the weekend. It happens where they at.
It's like, fitness weekend update.
The fitness weekend update is real. I was way more Michael Shea, said I would leave you as Colin Jost. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I got to be white dude.
Hey, man, I'm just saying.
I'll fight you right now.
Nonetheless.
Mr. Two fireplaces in the house.
Speaking about my own good, bad, and ugly, Tone. We're going to throw that log right in the fire, and we're going to talk about something that I saw, and it really brought a highlight to my week when I saw David Banner vlogging on a bike.
I love this.
Golds in the mouth, toothpick in the mouth, some good frames, a scully on in the rain, and he's pretty much just giving you a diary about how important it is to make time to go to the gym. He's sharing this on his TikTok, and TikTok gets a bad rap of a lot of stuff that happens on there with the kids and the talk and the generation. I feel like it is very divisive. It's either you on there and you seeing it, or you like, fuck no, I'm never getting on that app. And I'm here to try to bring that happy medium. There is good stuff that's on there. Your algorithm is a reflection of the stuff that you spend time watching. So when you see all the crazy stuff on your phone, know that it started with you.
Right? And you can scrub that shit now. Who would have known, Kyle?
We're going to slide into something else that you can't scrub, Tone. Now, when I talk about
this guy's flagrant, son.
The lack of the scrub, what if I were to tell you there was a carb gym? Now, you just painted a picture of the Techno Gym. For the listeners that don't know, go out and look out Techno Gym. You'll see the equipment that they make. But what if I were to show you a gym that was made out of carbohydrates? So you got the croissant treadmill that you're looking at. I believe there's kettlebells, there's dumbbells. Just let the people know what you're seeing.
This can't be real. It's a great art installation, but this is very funny. I guess it's the motivation for a lot of the reason why most people want to show up and work out. I've seen the dumbbells, I've seen everything else, but that I refuse to believe that's real.
The boxing glove croissant.
I've seen it.
You reported on seeing with your own two eyes a Nike croissant.
croissant.
So I'm just here to tell you the food and fitness pipeline. I've been carving it for a long time, Tone. And there's nobody else reporting on that but me.
The croissant gym is an art installation, I hope. I'll say that much.
Sliding out of that, we're going to walk a little bit further, and this walk is going to be on a treadmill, Tone. Now, what if I were to tell you there were businesses out there that were hiring models to put on their clothing and walk as a display for you to see what the clothes look like in motion?
I fully support this.
You here for that?
I fully support it.
Okay.
Here's why.
All right, lay it on me.
Because as a person who is in health and wellness at an early age, I would have taken one of these jobs. I would have put that on.
You're getting paid to work out.
Yeah, I would have did
right?
that. Totally.
Now, New York City is a city that's for walking. Do you think that this could be a profitable business model for some of these displays? We're here on Fifth Ave. If you saw somebody on Fifth Avenue in the Puma store walking just so you could see what this new tracksuit looked like, would you take that job?
I don't think Puma's going to get it done.
Okay.
But I'm going to be honest with you. There might be some stores that I would definitely tell you that depending on what they were selling,
all right,
and if it looked like they had it on when it was in the window,
they put that shit on,
it's going to be something that you would want to see. In particular, if it was back in the day, New York City, we used to have the big Victoria's Secrets up in the front windows and all the rest of that stuff on Fifth Ave, but you don't got no more of them. So it depends, Kyle, what they sell.
I like the way you put that. It depends on what they're selling. Now, depending on what's being sold is going to depend on what you buy. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have an issue or something, we just talked about work, like that being a job. What if I were to tell you there was a company out there that were making office chairs in the shape of coffins?
I'm sorry, what?
If you showed up to work and your job had ordered the coffin office chair, would you take a seat?
You got to quit immediately that day. They telling you that they want you to die at your desk.
If we get into ergonomics and the science of sitting, I mean, it's a coffin that's a chair.
It's a coffin chair. I see it, and I am.
They got the red velvet on the inside.
If you see something, say something. If you are working at Interview with a Vampire Inc. or something like that, then maybe you can get these off. But if your boss put a coffin in front of you, I feel like that's an HRable offense right there. You should be able to take that to somebody. Be like, I don't know what he's wishing on me, but it's not good. It can't be good.
If sitting for 8 hours a day is terrible for you, I think that this is an artistic replication of what that chair is doing to you. Right?
I'm not mad at the direction, but I would be mad at receiving the message. You got to be careful with who you share that with.
Hey, man, I don't know who's buying these, but they being sold. And I just wanted to see them and let you know that I saw them see this. Off the string.
See something, say something.
I saw something, so I had to say something. I'm going to end on something else just to wrap this up really briefly. Remember we talked about that brother that was running on Strava and creating art long ago?
Yes, I do remember
think his
that.
name was Lenny Mon. Don't
Lenny
ask
Mon.
me where I pulled that from right now, but no, we've been podcasting, reporting on this shit for a long time. Last part I wanted to show you was there was a Strava artist that's out here making not only Strava art, but dancing
Yeah.
Strava art. It's
I
been
saw
elevated.
this, and I think that this has to be capped. Because let me tell you, when the running man turned sideways, what route was he running when it was going straight up and down?
Hey, man.
How did you do the cap flip app? That's not a route that you ran. I refuse to believe that. I'm sorry.
He ran it
He did
clearly afternoon, evening,
No, I can see what the screen
night,
said. Unless
morning.
I'm calling cap on all of these run app people that
All
are
of
running.
these are paced and timed.
So hold on, let's make sure that we make people understand. So on the run app, he is allegedly tracing this route as he's running to make this stick figure move. I'm calling bullshit because I need to see the proof of you running like a crazy person to do that flip.
He did a little shoulder shimmy in
That's
the
exactly
beginning
it.
too.
How
It's
did
like
you run like that?
for it to pick up that way.
Show me what the route was that you ran to make that happen, and I'll take all of my statements back. But until I see somebody doing those miles, I
Yeah.
do not believe that happened.
All right, we gonna call out this person and we gonna see what's going on. We gonna ask them for this route to solve this mystery.
I need to see the footage of you running that turnaround,
a
the spin
trainer
turn.
called Tony needs proof. We gonna slide out of that, Tony, and we gonna get into a raising the bar segment this week.
Man, let's raise it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you're now in store to raise your bar. Brother Tone,
Yes, sir.
today is the day that we going to talk a little bit about. I'm gonna just let the story unfold and let y'all figure it out, right?
Okay.
So, last couple podcasts back, I spoke about multi-dimensionality, right? Present day, I'm fortunate enough to wear many hats in multiple arenas, from wellness professional, podcaster, amateur muralist, if you will. The list continues. Now, the title that weighs the most to me, present day, is being an artist.
Okay.
And keep in mind, I'm sensitive about my shit.
I can understand that.
Right. Now, today I want to talk about some of the art and the perils of being an entrepreneur creative. I feel like a lot of times this is the work that's done but not spoke about from people that are doing it, from people that have experience with it. You can get to a certain level, but you got to pay to play. You got to pay or at least speak to somebody who's gone a little further than you have in order to get a real understanding, right? Now, I want to start with products. I didn't launch my first physical product until 2020, which started as an idea to sell mobility equipment. We're talking foam rollers, straps, the balls for soft tissue and deep tissue. And I realized without the content to match, nobody was just going to buy the equipment because they didn't know what it was for. I gave it to my family. They looked at me like I just gave them the most useless thing they would ever use. It's like, all right, he bought some balls and a foam roller. I don't know what to do with it. Right? So that was the first problem. And I realized that I needed to sell merch in order to at least make some of this money back that I spent on buying all these dumbass foam rollers and shit like that. Right? So what really happened was this idea of merch that I made quickly turned into a clear KPI for moving forward. It's like, wait, this is growing. This is the product. This is what the people want. Now, reiterating my artist mindset and my persona, I didn't envision my clothing completely selling out and actually being in high demand. I was moving as an artist. I'm like, yo, this is not a business. And that was my first mistake, right? Now, fast forward to 2023. After about 3 years, I had a little capital injection, if you will, and I replenished my clothing brand. And the second time around, the business acumen, the mindset, the outlook has grown substantially, right? But the market changed drastically, right? Just 3 years later. Now, online purchasing boom in support of Black-owned businesses and small businesses specifically took a hit. And with the eroding of the D&I budgets, diversity and inclusion and all that, and whatever it morphed into, however you want to describe it, more conscious consumerism has happened, right? And obviously we in this turd of an economy, so there's that. With all this said, I was like, bet, I'm going to make better products. I'm going to plan more creative photo shoots. I'm going to begin to cut my teeth in the trenches of vending in different pop-ups, from outside on the street to bars to you name it. I was out here hustling, right? I was a street vendor. This is some things that I learned along that way, and this is just how I want to categorize this, right? You have to be personable. People purchase from persuasion, right? Like, they have to be sold on you, the product, and that they're going to be a confident representation of it, right? Regardless of what you're selling. They need to know that I need this, right? You can't control your audience. You can aim to a target demo, but in real life, attraction is the opposite, right? Like, you can intend to have this product for exclusive clientele, and then you realize, wait, more people like this. I might have to expand. I might have to open up and be welcoming to a demographic that I didn't even know was possible. Somebody put an organic thug trucker on a dog. That might have been the first viral video that I had, so to speak. Like, the shit was crazy, fam. It was just like, I can't even control that. Like, I don't even know how it got there, but it was, right? So just be aware of things of that nature. Customer and consumer feedback is golden. Don't take it lightly. There's plenty of times where someone will give you a gem right on the spot and you don't even pick it up. It's quick, it's subtle. It'll just be like, hey, you should make this in a different color. All right, cool. And it's like, you don't have to harp on it. You don't got to do nothing too crazy, but think of that as like, yo, I should make this in a different color, and maybe I should sell this, and use that as you will. That was a small example. Obviously, there's going to be other things along the way. I'll save the lessons of operating out of someone else's brick and mortar for another day. Just know that not all folks intend on doing good business, and you should move accordingly. Now, Brother Tone.
Yes, sir.
As a man of many hats, multiple business ventures, can you tell me about a lesson you've learned launching a physical product off the strength?
Absolutely. Just off of the last sentiment that you were just going into, first of all, not everybody has the same definition of what business is.
Yeah.
What business needs to be and what good business looks like. So before you go into a venture, it would behoove you to understand that whoever you want to go into that venture with, to have a conversation and understand what your baseline definitions of all of those things are. Because otherwise, you're going to find those things out at an inconvenient time. And that inconvenient time is going to be really what connects me to the lesson that I think is the most important. You have to remember your most expensive lessons in life. There's going to be lessons that come across and they're going to cost you something. When you learn that, that's an opportunity for you to change how you look forward, how you assess, and what ultimately you're going to end up accomplishing in life. Some of my most expensive lessons that I had to learn is that there's never a right time, only the right will.
Unpack that a little bit.
Meaning there is always going to be some inconvenient shit going on in your life that's going to preclude you from moving in the direction that you could move in order to accomplish the goal that you set.
Yep.
You need the right will to do that. It does not have to do with the right time. The next thing I want to talk about is that you can't do this all alone, no matter what you think it is. This is an expensive lesson for you to learn, because if you try to do it all on your own and it falls short, guess what's going to happen? Who has to carry that burden, right? And then the last part that I want to really lean into a little bit more is that you can learn a lot more going the long way, but what cost are you willing to learn that at? So meaning there could be somebody that can have, in my example, a clear path to get to what exactly I want to get to. And I've had opportunities in my life where I was like, you know what? I do want to cut my own teeth, so to speak. I do want to get into my own path. And that is never going to be something that I would want to discourage in anybody that really needs to own the process of what they're doing. The other side of that double-edged sword, though, is that that time that it took you to get to that part is going to cost you something. Understand all of your cost in this process. And I think that's the most important, thing to remember. Some of these prices are very expensive, bro.
The irony in you talking about the price as if it was monetary value, and it's not always that,
It
right?
could be furthest from it.
A lot of it is really effort based. It's curiosity. It's confidence. It's a lot of emotions that have to add up to, you know, your step forward, so to speak.
Yeah. None of what I was talking about had anything to do with money.
I know that, and that's what I want to focus on, right? Is people want to build businesses and always think about the money aspect of it too, right? There's so many other contributing factors that go into your output that get you to that space, you know?
I'll keep it a stack with you. What relationships are you willing to lose or gain in this process?
Yeah.
That's going to cost you something.
Yeah.
You know, what level of compromise are you willing to take on, bend, not break, or maybe even completely fold on to go forward? That's going to cost you something.
Yeah.
Right? The things that you're going to have to miss out on in order to move this forward, that's going to cost you something.
Yeah.
What are you willing to do to make that go?
I mean, not to dwell too deep into it, but the idea when we just talked about insurance briefly earlier, I'm thinking about my pops when I was on his insurance until I was 26. Mm-hmm. I was on his insurance until I was 26 because he was a police officer for 26 years. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Like that's the health insurance that I needed in order to get me into adulthood, right? Like that's a privilege. That's to know that I can go to the hospital and be covered because I have this. But the other side of that coin is this man sacrificed 26 years of his life in one job, right? Showing up every day, repeatedly working and doing different things, right? Like if we talk about cost, we often talk about older generations and the work that they did. Absolutely. And the years that they put in, right? Present day, we not doing that, right? Like we took a different route. And that was part of that sacrifice, but how much did that cost, right? When I'm still seeing them die early, and I think about, you know, what happens when I think about when my pops passed, right? My grandfather, and how that affected him and the life that he witnessed, you know? So it really does open up a portal, so to speak, and just a line of thinking of this notion that time is our only currency, right? I think about money. It's going to come and go. It's going to be a numbers game. I've been overpaid. I've been underpaid. Like I'm always striving to get more. That's just the New Yorker hustling mentality in me. But there's also the cost of just the experience, right? The stuff that we talked about, like the expensive tax of life. And even in my playlist today for my yoga class, fam, my playlist was called AS, and it was short for Adulting Sucks, right? And I gave this same speech in Dharma in class today, and everybody resonated with it. Everybody was like, yo, it is some shit going on all the time, every time, concurrently, right? And it's never ending. And I think about the way a river flows, if you will. You get what I mean? Like it's always going to go in that same direction from evolution and erosion and all these other things that take place. Global warming is a whole nother topic for another day, Tone. In brief, being able to keep a fire on the log, Tone. No, I'm sorry. I was you looking at me like I'm crazy. I was just making a call back for the listeners out there.
I wasn't mad at you, log. I'm mad at the fire on the log because it's like, again, I grew up in an apartment where
you ain't
had no fireplace.
Listen, man, we had two of them things.
Told you, fire escape is as much as I had, man.
Even when I had it, Santa Claus wasn't coming to my shit. But you know, that's a different story for the holidays. You know,
I really gotta look back at. I must have been like a real dumbass youth, bro, because my parents really got the Santa Claus shit off for a while. And all them Santa Claus stories
with no fireplace,
fireplace, bro. I was like, yo,
he was gullible,
you couldn't
my
do
boy.
Nothing to matter. Oh, he came down the fire escape. All right, same. It's like, it's all good.
Nah.
We got a gate on it, though. He got the key for that gate.
Ghetto, yeah. Nigga do magic. That's what he do.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? He ate the cookie. He left the cookie crumbs. He left some milk behind there, you know? In all honesty, bro, somewhere in that analogy, I do want to come back to just the idea of, you know, the cost of this operation, the cost of this living, and the cost of everything that you're putting into, you know, the process of you becoming who you are. That's still not necessarily the thing that makes you an entrepreneur. That's still not the thing that necessarily makes you a business owner and operator. And I would say encourage all the people who are in the artistic lane in particular to also look into the lane where some of those rules are and those rules exist, because the transference of your talent into that and making it something that is seamless and easy and scalable is not necessarily one-to-one. I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, man.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. Speaking of getting caught up, the business, entrepreneurialism, I got a space I want to take us, but in order to get there, Tone, I'm going to need to relax responsibly.
Okay, that's what's up, man. Let's relax a little bit, my brother.
Now, you gave me a prompt this week about my relaxation, because I was like, yo, I'm struggling. The week is crazy. And you was like, you know what? Think about somewhere you would want to be, right? You got to escape a little bit. And where I found myself escaping to was the recap of Afrotech 2024, Tone.
That's what's up.
Now, I've always heard about this conference.
Same.
But I've never been, I've never seen it. And just the way that it was displayed from the people that were there, the inspiration that was felt, people getting fits off. You know, you got to get a little fit off, if
Only
you
the
will.
black conferences, bro. It's only ever us.
That's
that
right.
we got to come out there
I'm
and
gonna
have a
wake up.
fashion show.
I'm gonna put that shit on. That shit, you got to know that right now. Seeing all of that really did inspire me to make my way there for 2025. It's in Houston. I got to figure out how to either have my lady with me or eyewitness at all times. But you know what I'm saying?
I was about to say, you're not getting that off Dolo.
Yeah, you know, we're going to have to vlog 24 hours on that, you know what I'm saying, just so you can see what's going on. But I'm going to make my way down there, bro. So shout out to Afrotech for them. And they were the one, that was the article that I read about Mr. Charlie's and Mike Tyson, actually.
Yeah.
So shout out to them for even covering that type of news, man. How was you relaxing this week?
Man, I definitely have been invited to Afrotech multiple times. I never had the opportunity to go, but I look forward to making that a place that is a necessary destination for that 2025 field that we laying out there, man. So I'm excited about that. Now, Kyle, before I tell you about how I was relaxing this week, I want to ask you a question, my friend.
What's up?
Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
That's right, folks. Okay, so let's prepare to elevate your mind, body, and soul. After all, this Relax Responsibly is going to be brought to you in part by Higher Clientele, my friend. That's right. That's the place where the sky's the limit, but it's also just the beginning, my friend. So I was elevated a little bit, Kyle, as I got a chance to relax responsibly this week, and I got to kick it at not one, but two different dispensaries this week, my man.
Okay.
I got to go over to Happy Monkey on Fulton Street. Now, let people know what Fulton Street, Brooklyn is right now.
All right.
Fulton Street, Brooklyn had mad weed spots.
Thanks.
From way back in the day.
Not officially.
This is the first official weed spot on
It
Fulton
was
Street.
officially unofficial. You know?
And I popped in there, man. It's a huge space. It's something that they definitely have brought the modern weed world to everybody that's available around there.
Fulton Street.
Yeah, right on Fulton Street, right across from the Shake. It's a block away from the Shake Shack. So
Really?
somebody's really setting up some power moves over on that side. And yeah, these are two brothers from Uptown. This is their third location that they're up to. And yeah, man, I just popped in there, walked around, saw what was going on. You know, it's still something that people, you could tell, don't feel the most like, oh, I'm gonna walk in there right now. It's kind of like back in the day, New York City, where they used to have the dirty stores, and you could walk in, and you got all of the like porno magazines and everything else in. You didn't want to walk in. You couldn't let nobody see you walk in behind them beads.
Yo, what you doing over there?
Freak ass boy.
Yeah.
It's like, we can't let you do that. But that's kind of how going into the weed stores are. But as soon as you leave, mad people start to follow you inside there. So shout out to them. I hope everything was cool on that side. I also got a chance to pick up something in time for the holiday season, Kyle. Now, you mentioned that you tapped in with the good folks over at Heirloom before, but we didn't have product on camera to talk about, Colin.
Okay.
And I think that in honor of the Thanksgiving holiday coming up this week, you know, we had to touch down on something that I thought was going to be, you know, pretty on point for the holiday, man. Now, you got a new cran apple flavor from the good folks over at Heirloom, and I just wanted to tap in with that. I just wanted to see what that's going to be like. Is it something that you would want to bring to the holiday table, man? You know, if you want to, you can partake. If you don't, I also understand, my man. But that was something that I picked up from the good people over at Happy Monkey. And then also, right around the hood, I stuck around to B-Leaf, right on Atlantic Ave. Man, it was also another cool store, cool spot. I'm interested in understanding what these places are going to evolve into in the long haul, because a lot of these places have lounges that are not lounges yet, and they have enough space where you could do events and all the rest of that kind of stuff, but it looks like they just got nothing but time and opportunity. And folks, that's where you're going to find the good people from High Clientele popping in there. Whenever there's time, opportunity in these spaces, I want you to associate these faces with that, because we're going to be the keepers of the flame and the bringers of the vibe in that spot, Kyle. Now, that is going to be it for how I was relaxing this week, man.
You got it, brother. I can't take this to the fam because they just think weed is crack. You know what I'm saying?
My grandmother definitely be calling it all types of crazy stuff.
And
She want the reefer and crab party, but she'd be like, "You on that?
we
What?"
gotta throw the reefer and crab party because that's the one that the people need for sure. Being as though, you know, you from Brooklyn and then me from B-more, it makes
just sense.
The reefer and crab party, man.
She would definitely take a plate at the reefer and crab party
It's
too.
like the
I'm
fucking Catalina one remixer, yo. It's got energy to it, man.
She'd be like, "Oh, hey, what y'all got in that pot over there?"
You just gotta play a little Luther, you know
Yeah,
what I'm
right?
saying? Or maybe
Nah,
the new
I was
Kendrick
about to-
Luther, you know?
She'd be around for that too, you know. But honestly, if we talking about my family, she gonna be playing that Robert, and people not gonna be happy about it. That's all I'm telling you.
It sounds like you're hopeful for something, Tony. And we're not even gonna acknowledge this party foul that you.
She listening to Robert, bro. This the elders. You gotta respect them for where they at. I'm telling you, my life. This is how my life is going, bro. You wanted me to keep it real.
When keeping it real goes wrong, we're not gonna air out your grandmother like that because I'm on her side, right? She's on my team.
I'm on her team too.
Nah.
I just know what she listening to. I'll be like, you got
you say
slaps.
her name one more time, you have to cut that check. You know what I'm saying? She gonna throw that left hook on you.
Kyle, what are you hopeful for?
I am hopeful that all of the artistic, creative entrepreneurs keep a log burning in the fire. Keep that flame alive at all costs, whether it's a physical manifestation, whether it is the flame inside of you to keep you going. Stoke that flame. Find your own fireplace, even if you yourself don't have a fireplace, Tone. Build one mentally. Keep it going.
Keep your foot away from the heater. That's right. At all times. You can keep the heater open, but don't let your foot touch it at an inopportune time.
Drain it if you need to. If you're in the old hood, you got to get the key to drain
Exactly. Now
You
you're
know
talking
what
my
I'm
language.
saying? Yeah.
Now that made more sense.
The noise it used to make, fam.
I still don't know how I didn't put
Sound
that
like
together.
a boat was moving. It's like, yo, what's happening behind this wall?
I might not have had it all together as a child. Now that I'm looking back at this, but I'm hopeful, Kyle. I'm hopeful too that more people don't wait and they actually take their shot. I don't think I have anything more than that.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Shoot the shot. Shoot the J, Kyle.
Shoot the J, Scotty.
That's it, man. Yo,
You're the blue.
one of the things that's really getting me a little bit annoyed coming into this is people not matching the energy of the band merch that they have on.
Yeah, that's been a thing for years. I don't
I've seen
understand
it
that.
several times on my way to the very studio, and I was very confused by that. I saw somebody with a Chance 3 cap that definitely didn't look like he was at all from Chicago, and definitely didn't look like he at all ever listens to Chance. But I
mean,
saw that.
That's not a band, but I'm picking
Nah,
up
it's
what
still
you're putting
in the
down.
same category, man. I'm
Okay.
looking at rock T-shirts from people that I know clearly. I was like, yo, what lyric was it that made you pull out the Slipknot? It's like, where was you at in your life? That Slipknot was the one that you went for. It's like, oh no, I like the graphics, dog. I don't even know what this is. You putting stuff on your body and not knowing what it sounds like is a very questionable situation for me.
That's how people give it up on the regular. I blame Target for selling the Metallicas and the Guns N' Roses tees. People don't know that stuff. This actual bandana that I have on, it's from a band called, it's like Sinful or something like that. I forgot the name.
So you one of these people that I was talking
I'm one
about.
of these people, and I didn't even know that it was a band until somebody pointed out, and they saw the logo. I was like, I don't even know how you recognized it because it's folded. But I was like, all right, let me listen to the music. I found like maybe 2 songs that I liked, and I was like, you know what? I can wear this
rep
now.
the band.
Yeah, because I know. But I think the design, the feel is something that just speaks to the test of time of something surviving. So I can respect that. That part I understand. I mean, when I'm thinking about my week in particular, it's been similar to that design. It's been a fight, man. It's been a battle. I feel like I've been in a mental dojo and real wax on, wax off kind of time. And I'm sitting in this space of really working to separate my ego from my art, from my work that I have to do to push the art, and ultimately from just my individual pursuits of what I want in life, and compartmentalizing that in a way that I feel like it can be successful for me.
So the effort be successful or life is successful? Help me understand that.
All the above. I think life is only successful once you put the effort in. So I would say that it's almost like I was famously putting the buggy in front of the horse, so to speak, instead of putting that horse in front of the buggy.
Okay, I understand that, man, and I definitely want to come back to that. My week, Kyle, has not necessarily been a battle. I would say my week, to be in summary, it was successful coming off of a great ride, and I just want to shout out everybody in the whole Love Yours Peddlers ride that came out and battled the elements, because it damn sure was way too cold for us to actually be out there at that point in time in particular. But I love everybody that popped out, because it was something that was really resonant in the fact that, when good people come together and good art come together, we can make whatever we have to accomplish be the thing to come out to. Because, I mean, man, when I say not only did we ride along the cityscape as it was way too frigid, when we landed at Park Life, the place did not have the most pop in the scene, but by the time we got there, put the music on, and everybody saw all of these different bikers pull up, I'm telling you, the impact was felt unmistakably, and people was walking around wearing the art. That shit made my heart feel full and good. And immediately after I left there, all the rest of the world came back and flooded back in. It was, we coming back at you.
Non-stop.
It was like, yeah. You had a win. You put up some good numbers, triple double, no assists. The next night, no marks, no points off the bench. Brick after brick after brick. So maybe that part is indicative of a battle, and I want to return to your whole concept maybe for this Ask the Professionals this week. Now, you mentioned something about having to check your ego in the process of what you were doing. Kyle, I want to ask the professional, what is that process actually look like for you? Because sometimes the thing that you believe you are doing is justified, might not necessarily be the thing that actually gets you the result that you want. So how do you check your ego to navigate toward actual measurable success as you define it?
I think about disassociation. I think about detachment. When oftentimes I found myself frustrated, it was solely because of my own expectation, or because of just the story that I sold myself was, I'm popping because of this, and this only happened because of me, and it's a lot of I, and you really start to insert yourself into situations, and you ultimately find out, if you explore it enough, that you actually might be the person that's holding you back just because of your preconceived notions, or again, like I mentioned, having an expectation to an outcome. When you really start to disassociate and detach away from that outcome and only focus on the work that you do and not the work that you're entitled to as a result, I think that's when you can really start to measure and mark success, because now you have something that's consistent, right? You have something that you can go back and show a tally on of like, I did this, I did that, and I did that. And you can't really, and this is the work that I'm working on, is you can't be too excited when success comes and when it doesn't come. If you are successful and people praise you for that, you can enjoy that moment, but it should be as fleeting as if somebody gave you negative feedback of like, I hated this sucked. Like, the way you don't hold on to that, you can't hold on to someone telling you how much they love this thing, because there's still work that needs to be done, and that goes back into that consistency. So it's more of a cycle that I feel has to happen, but once you recognize your specific cycle, so to speak, I think that's when you can start to work.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the cycle aspect of it. I mean, there is something to be said about you having to execute a whole event and then going immediately into the next day where it's like, okay, what's the next one? Where's that going to go? There's something cathartic about the creation of a show, like a podcast, putting one out. You put all these hours, energy, effort into it. We're sitting here recording all this time for somebody to consume it as quickly as possible and be worried about the next one after that. You put a reel out, and that reel does numbers to whatever your expectation is, and you see it go as far as possible, and the next one goes wood in the hood. Again, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm playing this game. I'm trying to understand the stories that I'm telling myself about this, but more importantly, also, how is that attached to what maybe even I've defined and compared success to? Because I do think you have to have something to template. You have to have something to look at. And it's easy for people to think that they're templating themselves after a certain thing, but never actually get the process explained to them. So they'll be like, hey, I'm doing the same thing. It's like, no, that part is not the process. So all of that to say, in checking the ego, I think also looking at outcomes, but evaluating them for what they actually are and what all went into them is also a vital part to that whole equation, man.
100%. And just speaking to the success, I think that meter is allowed to change, and people need to accept what that is. And specifically when it comes to podcasts and someone, putting their heart, soul into this craft. I'm thinking about someone who shared a podcast with me that was literally about maybe like 3 years old from the date that they shared it to me.
Okay.
But they were so moved by the message and the conversation that took place. It inspired me a little bit like, man, I feel like one day people are going to share the stuff that we talk about on this Off the Strength podcast to somebody that they might think the conversation would be valuable for. So I keep that hope, too, as a marker of success. When people stop me on the street and they be like, yo, that episode about blah, 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 the strip club last week, if you will. You know what I'm saying? But that gives me a little bit of hope that people are listening.
I know they are, man. I've had bikers specifically be like, yo, what's going on, man? I heard that episode where you was talking about this. And I'm like, yeah, man, I know. I'm really out here. Yo, I've seen you on the bike riding past. It's like, no, this is not something that I'm just doing for the cameras and the microphones and all the rest of that. It sounds like more familiar with your niche and your crowd and your audience is a byproduct of being able to redefine and pivot, right? And that's the exact energy, Kyle, that I want to take into a little bit of this good.
Okay.
I want to take it into a little bit of this bad, and I want to be able to talk about some ugly this week because there's some pivots that are happening that I am very interested in exploring in this week's episode of Ripped from the Headlines, my man. But before we get to those pivots, Kyle, I got some interesting things that I just saw that was really, something that made me pause as I was scrolling through, and I was like, okay, this is a sport that something is confusing, but it's also something that I think I would definitely bust my ass trying. Now, do you see this board shoe race that they're rolling out inside of China? This is a tradition that you have a team of people tethered to the same board as you're running around a actual traditional track. So what's your thoughts on board shoe racing?
This is the nastiest three-man I've ever seen take place. I imagine a Congo line.
Yeah.
With three people.
But a competition
with you strapped into a board and you having to race on a track.
Yeah.
That all just, it don't go together.
It's something that it looks a little bit of like a different type of game is being played. But I really just brought that up to bridge into this next conversation about sneaker collabs in general. So,
okay.
The board sneakers and everybody being tethered to the same shoe. Kyle, I feel like some line of that logic is coming into the running shoe game with all of these damn sneaker collaborations that really need to be questionable. Now, there are a lot of people that are coming out with collaborations for the sake of different things that I cannot justify to you. So Tony, a trainer called Tony, I think I could justifiably come out with an athletic training shoe, maybe even a biking shoe, as much as I talk about these things. Kyle, I have a problem when I see people coming up with apparel for sports that they never have appeared to participate in on the public face at all. And some of these damn apparel companies are just putting out garbage with somebody's name on it, to be honest with you. But I'm looking at the top ones coming out of 2025 in runner alerts, Kyle. Now, what's your thoughts on some of these top collabs coming out for this past year in running season?
I feel like the game has always been the game. And we like to glorify and romanticize, an ideal collab. But when you really look back, there's always been trash collabs. I'm thinking heavily about Birdman and Lug.
No, I definitely put that up there as top trash collab.
There was like the Dada and the Latrell Sprewell.
Dada
right?
and anything was top trash
That's
collab.
just off top. But like they existed. Now, present day, I would say, looking at this list specifically, it's major players. You're looking at a Kith and Adidas collab, right? We're looking at a Pharrell collab for a running sneaker. You're looking at something like Satisfy and Hoka, which are now two pillars in this athleisure wear realm, right? If you have the pull, so to speak, you can do anything you want. That's just the world we live in. We just talked about Diplo having a run club that turns into a party.
You better believe he's coming out with a shoe.
So that's happening. It's just a matter of, all right, which brand is willing to
participate in his run club.
And that's the name of the game. Like, the game has been the game. I just feel as though, depending on where you at, it's going to look a little different. Trash is always going to be trash.
Trash is always going to be trash is an interesting way to phrase that, my friend. Now, sometimes
you can't polish the turd.
Yeah, well, again, these are different.
You can only shit on top of it.
These are different sayings that I don't condone, but I always champion you to express yourself with the level of freedom that you choose to, Kyle. as you express yourself, now I got some questions for how you really like navigating this world. I like to think of myself as a tech-connected person, but some types of tech I need to stay away from. These are things that are never going to be of interest to me. I'm never going to have it. I will never own that. I would put much of the virtual reality world inside of that. It's just not something that I'm the target demo for.
You're showing your age. We continue.
I know that. Now, if I said VR wasn't for me specifically, would you be a person that's open for VR?
It depends on the VR because there's levels to it. So walk me through what we're talking about.
Well, if I introduced to you a piece of VR that added not one, not two, not three, but a fourth dimension to your reality, would you be willing to try this out?
When we speak dimensions, I still need more clarity.
So you know what a dimension is, right? You got 3D space is most what VR is. I'm adding another dimension to this. Kyle, how do you feel about a lickable VR device that would allow you to taste things that you were seeing in the reality that you're exploring?
First of all, watch how you talk to me. All right, that's first and foremost. Second, we're never going to discuss what I like to lick. All right, that's a personal preference. We're not even going to talk taste. We're just going to stop at the lick part right now. If we're talking VR,
cutting edge,
and lickable devices, it sounds like somebody's been home for too long, right? And they're inventing stuff that we just don't need. I don't need a fourth dimension lickable tech device. That sounds crazy.
It's a voltage-based lollipop that can cause the chemicals to mix with your saliva and give you, in real time, the flavor profile of what you're seeing on your favorite cooking show. That is how this is being pitched, and that I'm sure is the only thing that you could ever associate this piece of technology with, Kyle. So you're saying you're not signing up for this type of
for the Scratch and Sniff 3000 that transition into the taste and lick? No, thank you.
All right, man. To each his own. Everybody, I can't yuck somebody's literal yum, but I'm going to keep moving on, man. I'm going to move on to a story that I saw that was a little bit better. It was a story about my guy, Meta World Peace. Now, Kyle, when I say Meta World Peace, what comes to mind?
Formerly known as Ron Artest, Mr. Come up into the stands and whoop your ass. Yeah, I'm around for that.
See, we always put the negative connotations on Queensbridge's own Ron.
He was a hell
of
a role player, though. He got rings. Kobe couldn't have did it without Ron Artest, and they don't talk about it enough.
What would you feel about hearing that Ron Artest is now launching an investment fund for fit tech specifically as he's starting to roll into his next venture?
I'm around for that.
Yeah.
I'm around for him diversifying the portfolio that way, and anybody getting into fit tech specifically, you probably late, and you can cash in now.
Hey, listen, I'm not knocking Ron for anything that he wants to do. I remember how he came on that campus at St. John's University when they took his jersey down, because that was a thing that happened while I was there.
Yeah.
And they surely put it back up shortly after that as he was practicing the whole time.
That's not somebody you play with.
It was not. The sentiment was definitely felt. And this next piece was something that reminded me of an old school ad. Now, I don't know if you got a chance to check out any of these fitness streets making pivots like I was talking about earlier. Some of the apps are starting to change and start to offer different types of content. And now, Kyle, this week, Ladder versus Peloton Strength Plus has really started to heat up, and they're starting to battle head to head. And it's one of these commercials that have come out that is something that really got my interest going. First of all, I got to shout out to my man Dre that was in the commercial, because he damn sure is doing some funny stuff in here. But have you seen these Peloton versus Ladder commercials?
Yeah, definitely. This was something that you sent to me, and I got a chance to lay eyes on it. And I'm here for authentic fitness people starting to push fitness stories and closing that gap with fitness brands, because the main thing that I found troubling was these larger companies didn't have the right people in place.
At all.
And when you get that situation together, it almost just makes a palpable difference on anything moving forward. So the knockback to the old, commercials, the old wellness commercials, I'm here for that.
Yeah, and it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to talk about the instructors that they're putting next to these, people that they're the actors that they have in there. Because my man Andre was literally on Men's Health, the world fittest trainer. And I saw him do the exercise come inside that whole, everything leading up to it, man. He's definitely out there also redefining what dad bod is. He's pushing pushing the limits in a whole different direction.
The father figure.
That man is coming out and really trying to elevate everything. And I love how even Ladder's take on this whole thing is innovation in marketing that I haven't seen inside of health and wellness. So Ladder last year has increased their downloads by at least 69%, while inversely Peloton's dropped by 33%, you know? And inside of this like head-to-head kind of competition, they really did kind of seize the moment from Peloton by showing that, hey, you guys are copying us. Hey, you guys are doing, you know, pretty much the same offering now. You came from the cardio side. Now you're trying to get into our thing, which has always been strength. Look at how much your app looks like ours. Look at how much this goes back and forth. And they're doing it in a way that is captivating some of the space. So I got to salute them for doing that. And I got to shout out my man Dre. It was like, yo, I see what you're doing out there, players. Salute, salute, salute.
I'm thinking that also just highlights how long we've been in the game.
Way too long.
Right.
And for parodies of parodies.
When you see people in high places, so to speak, that like you were in the trenches with, it almost just, you know, reignites this staple that we've been in this wellness culture.
Been in the game for years. Made me a manual, Kyle. There's rules to the shit. And one of the rules that I want to talk about is coming down to the end of the year. I'm tired of seeing some of these year-end wrap-ups. This is a new rule that I want to put inside the whole Constitution of Wellness. Hey, we don't need the year-end wrap-up for everything, but I did pay attention to what Strava's year-end sport wrap-up was this year.
They owe us a check.
They definitely do. But I'm paying attention to them specifically because of the sentiment that came out of there, not necessarily what they put out. Now, Kyle, the overarching sentiment amongst most of the Strava users that people need a fit buddy to work out with.
Yes.
There is a shocking increase of about 59% of more people on the app are looking for run clubs. They're looking for workout partners, and they're looking to make social connections as the top priority in their group workout environments. What's your thoughts on hearing that more people want to be connected through the act of health and wellness than you might have thought any other year before?
I don't care where you stand in life. There's nothing better than being healthy, right? On any accord. The healthiest you can be is going to be the best you can be in anything. And I feel like health is the new fashion sense. So, of course, people want to look to have their social life match the rest of their life. It's only going to find improvements while you get healthier around people that you actually want to be around. So I'm here for that, man. I'm not here for, again, the running club debauchery is like, fellas, please.
They turning it up.
Yeah, let's not,
a lot of people shooting their shots in spaces that they should not.
Or, you know, fish are friends, not food, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have a dalliance with everyone you come across.
Here's
right?
what happens when you do that. That place that you go to that is the
it's
alleviation,
no longer a safe
you can't
space.
go back to that place.
You know? So
you do so at your own peril. Hey, if you're going to go to these spaces you're going to date,
Be
just
mindful.
realize, if this does not work out, you can't go back to that space. You're going to be that person that they start talking about.
Choose wisely.
And they're going to make a random ass, not so random specific, but not so specific post about you somewhere. And then everything goes downhill.
Now you're
going
to be outed. And you're outcast. Now you got to go to another run group. And your legacy is just going to slowly just start to go down.
The rebrand is always going to be a costly one.
Your tail going to be longer than your front.
Hey, so last thing I got talking about somebody giving you the run around or being involved in group fitness classes. Kyle, I just want to get your reaction to a unique cycling trip that I've seen taking place in Europe over in Germany. Now, this is cycling unlike how I have ever seen this done before. Kyle, this is a cycling cruise where the participants are taking a cycling class and whoever is responsible for this boat is losing their damn mind doing the craziest donuts in the middle of this river out in Germany. Would you ever participate or pull up in this type of cycling class when you're ready to jump back on these clipped in wheels on this side?
It's a no for me, dog. That's just first and foremost. What I'm looking at, ladies and gentlemen, was imagine a spin class like you would go to Soul Cycle or, any of those other cycling studios in a group fitness, but you're on a boat and that boat is doing donuts in the water. So while you're spinning, the boat is spinning.
Spinning on spinning on spinning.
If you have motion sickness, this is not the space for you.
Somebody next to you is going to be wearing this.
Yeah, somebody's calling Earl on speed dial on such an event. So I am actually not here for that.
Well, that's going to be it from my side of these ripped from the headline streets. My man, what you got on your side?
It's ugly out here. The streets is wild. The streets is talking. first and foremost, for my rip from the headlines, I want to talk about a rebrand. Now, when I think about a rebrand, the first thing that comes to mind to me would be Titty Boy, 2 Chainz, Titty 2 necklaces.
Okay.
It all turned into 2 Chainz. You
2
get what I'm
Chainz,
saying?
yes.
Right? When 2 Chainz first came out, he was a duffel bag boy. He was with Lil Wayne and his other homie that we don't remember, as obviously, you know.
He was in that one video.
He was legacy dealer is what he was, and he got a verse off.
Can't get that off no more.
And now 2 Chainz emerged. And I watched the interview recently where he talked about how pivotal of an impact that name change was for him because people didn't understand Titty Boy in its original origin. I bring that up because I'm looking at what I saw this week was the WTF founder, Wheezy, and then you got Mandy, who was famously known for Horrible Decisions. Now, that podcast, that brand is something that we've been just mirroring for years, right? And they had a rebrand come out for Decisions. That's their new podcast offering. How do you feel about seeing a rebrand like that from somebody who's been in the game as long as us, maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, to be fair, they've been in the game longer and
A little bit, but yeah.
Nah, I would say longer. Definitively they have been longer.
Facts.
I've always loved the business that they've had.
Yeah.
And the acumen to put that business to, see it grow to the scales and the levels that they have. I have the utmost respect for those two as people who are really, I would say, pioneers in this space for taking what they had and getting to where they actually are today. I can never knock them for anything like that. And this move is indicative of another mindset that's coming in there. When you're taking your business, which is already a good business, to scale, it makes sense to understand and evaluate all of the different things that you could be doing. And for as solid as that brand was, Horrible Decisions is not the most marketable thing in some of the areas that I know they have the level and agency and professionalism to speak in. So now as their life has expanded, this next chapter is going to have to expand to meet them where they are. So I salute their acumen in that space and their ability to get the most out of this whole marketplace. I will always salute that.
See, I only brought that up with connections to the 2 Chainz story because 2 Chainz was Titty Boy.
Yeah.
You couldn't sell Titty Boy. Everybody wasn't with that. Horrible Decisions, for the folks that don't know, it was about kinks and, a very sexual oriented podcast where there was, a lot of tongue action.
Even above that, it has whore in the name. You can't, before you even get to what their subject matter
Titty Boy,
is.
Horrible, and now we got 2 Chainz and Decisions. You see the parallel right there?
Yeah, if your front name is registered as most people as obscenity, they're probably not going to get that many opportunities for people to advertise with you. But when you could keep the subject matter, put it behind a paywall, and you can keep the subject matter or pivot as your life has expanded, I know and I have always known for the longest time that I've been in my game. Every girl who was the fun party girl who has that solid run in the fun party life, they always end in wellness.
Yes.
There's never not an opportunity. I don't care. You pick your favorite bottle person.
It leaves outward facing.
You pick your favorite dancer somewhere. You pick it. I'm telling you. I
Shout
know
out
where
to
they
the
ended
horse,
up.
though. We still love y'all.
No, and I still love them when they get over here. It's like, because when they get over here, they done picked up a lot of good information.
Yeah.
But now they just want a more holistic and slow down lifestyle.
Speaking of holistic and slow down lifestyles, I want to talk about Nike launching a new store in Soho. Now, the store that they launched it looks like what is going to be an experimental space. The space that they're in was already an experimental space. We were there for LeBron's company. I'm forgetting the name. The shop was there, and
his
they
hair care products and a skincare line.
They were launching a skincare line products. I've also been in the same space for Plant Shed. It used to be like another pop-up. But this Nike store specifically, what I love about it is it's combining all the things that we've talked about on the podcast for years. So Nike famously released their own strength weights for strength training, so like dumbbells, plates, barbells, things of that nature. They also have their recovery Hyperice sneaker as well as vest and just other tools that can be utilized for what looks like running specifically, but pretty much anybody working out. The homie Zeus was there. He took a mat Pilates class. And how do you feel about this launch of this new Nike store as you see it unfold in front of your eyes?
I actually rode past it today. and saw they were wrapping it like a gift wrap kind of look on the outside exterior of it. It looks like it's a pretty solid thought, and I think it's going to be kind of similar to where you see most places. Yeah, this is exactly what they were repairing, or either I don't know how they were transitioning that, but they was working on that little the exterior.
Swoosh.
Yeah. So
Well, it's a brick wall, and the layers is crazy outside.
right. So they were fixing that, but I like the idea of spaces that are like this, and I think they're more evident of how all brands are starting to look at what is your next evolution in marketing going to be. So for the purpose of this, I don't know if this is ever going to have any ambition to be a retail space, but Nike needs to take up a spot where they can have all of the different people who they would want their brand to be associated with outside of the athletes that they used to have at their top priority. I'm seeing them go more into the real life accessible people and start to push and promote the things that they inherently, if they're playing the same social media game, will push and promote. So I think it's ingenious to have a vertically integrated pipeline for you to showcase all of your stuff that you already made that I would assume you think is cool among some people that I would also assume are associated. They like the association with the brand, and they can take that association with the brand and leverage that for something that they also see as valuable. I like it from that standpoint. I don't think every brand can execute something that is that expensive. You're talking about already the names that you came up with got some capital to move like that, right? But I think on a smaller scale, you can kind of find a way to get some of the same kind of maybe thought processes and behavior patterns off and kind of make that your own.
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I'm just also thinking about something of the New York story of like Mercer Street closed down. Mercer Street was one of those legacy Nike stores where you could go and cop some exclusive footwear.
Oh, yeah.
And it was on a need-to-know basis, but they also have another like brick-and-mortar store that's
blocks away,
multi-tier. So you're keeping something in this hub of Soho, which is arguably the largest shopping space in New York City for foot traffic. And it's like when you have a space like that's that innovative, I'm curious to see the longevity of this and what the runway looks like.
It would be smart of them to make certain things only available there. I think that's kind of the thing that Nike is missing right now. I've seen.
I mean, arguably it already is, because you can't get those Hyper-Ice sneakers everywhere, or the strength and conditioning weights with the rest of their product.
Right, but I'm saying that should be, if that was now the hub of where you got anything that's related to health and wellness, like training, that would make all the sense in the world, because you already have a dedicated niche of people that absolutely want that. Just like they have running as a feature that rotates depending on what the season is inside the stores. The run stores that they're competing with now only care about running. So Nike is spread so thin because they have a lot of different kind of logs on many different fires, right? If they just start to scale back and actually no, this is going to be everything that Nike has to care about running is going to only be in this store. Everything that Nike has to care about, like training and different avenues, I think it would make sense to return to that, because honestly, that's where they're being outcompeted. When you talk about the Hokas and you talk about anybody else that's in that world that they can only focus on and only think about one thing as a direct-to-consumer line, man, it's going to be hard to try to fight that many fronts.
We're going to run out of that.
Okay.
And we're going to run into some ugly for a little bit.
Okay.
Now, when I speak about the ugly and I'm thinking about this running that we just laid out, how would you feel about a prison marathon, Tone?
Yeah, that sounds nasty on every front. I don't like any part of this. I saw this come up on my timeline as well.
Running a marathon is not an easy feat, and arguably, depending on what city you're in, it could be a very difficult task. But if you want to take your running talents inside a prison that's dark with a headlamp and you running up and down stairs, you even went as far as to have stripes on, like an inmate, something is wrong with you.
Yeah, I don't like no parts of this. I can't condone it. I understand why this exists, and I want no parts of anybody who is finds it easy to glorify the existence of you being able to do this type of exercise inside the gym. That's not going to be my space.
From ideation prison to conception, everybody need to go to jail.
Everybody needs to spend some time.
Everybody who's involved in that need to actually spend time in jail.
Yo, you get all right, go ahead. We're going to give you a good 48 on Rikers right now.
Just cuz. Off the strength. Now, the last part that I want to end on is the super ugly part. And now this is a bit of a layered story. It's very new, so I want to touch on this briefly, but I want to talk about this CEO that was shot and killed. And arguably, this was dangerous because this is like blocks away from where we're recording now.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we don't record in that early in the morning or that time of day, so we'll be fine off the strength. But when you think of in relation to, now, if you haven't heard, the CEO of United Healthcare was shot and killed, and there's been so many stories about why, from the silencer that was used to the gun getting jammed to people going crazy on the comments online that were very insensitive. But then as you start to dig through the layers past the people who just want to get their fame off in the comment section, there's people that are really hurt because United did some things that was unsavory in their own troubles, right? So I'm feeling a lot of pain in the comment section. When you saw this, how did you feel when you saw?
So first and foremost, there was a life loss. So I have to, just be sensitive to that, right? So rest in peace to Brian Thompson. I'm sure I don't know him. I don't have any affiliation with him. And I don't relate my life to him, but he had a family somehow, some way, and I can't be a person that just is that callous about life in general. But as the CEO of United Health, I think the scrutiny that came his way is something that is valuable enough to try to take a different perspective to understand, not to justify by any means, but to understand. Now, by all measures, I don't feel like my day-to-day life walking around New York City is going to be targeted by this calculated of a thing, because for whatever reason, there's all different types of speculation popping up on the internet. This was a dedicated and designed thing that was intentional, right? You don't have this much preparation that goes into something like this that is not specific. This is not a random act of violence. This is a very targeted event that took place, right? So United Health is really the forefront of what I think a lot of the social climate's responses is based off of. Not necessarily Brian Thompson, but he is the CEO of United Health. And if you're sitting at the head of this organization, people are going to justifiably or unjustifiably associate the decisions that come out of the organization with him, right? It is a dark day to start to think about what happens in society's mind when they are comfortable enough to start to justifiably joke about the killing, the broad daylight execution of somebody, and feel like this is a event that they want to champion, right? I get the jokes, I get the laughs, I get where the levity comes in and gallows humor. I'm okay with that, but this is the kind of stuff that really the French Revolution was kind of like went around by, When you get to the levels of society where people are in such a desperate condition that they are literally starting to attack people in the higher ups like that, I think it's time for them to pay attention. If I were in that position, I think it's time for them to pay attention. If you're in the C-suite and you think that you are not affected by how hard the reality of the world is, this is going to come to your door eventually. Marie Antoinette tell you let them eat cake. Some part of these claims that were denied in United Health, they had the highest rate of denial across all the companies. Allegedly on the bullets, there was denied, defend, depose written on the bullet that actually struck this man. I can't see that it's not correlated somehow, some way, even if it's orchestrated to be correlated. The sentiment is the sentiment, and the people's sentiment is the thing that is really the most troubling to understand, but I also get it at the same point in time. When you put that much constraint on the bottom, eventually that straw is going to break the camel's back, and I think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I just think that the callousness of the individuals that are not taking in consideration that this person that lost their life was, a son, an uncle, a dad.
Came from somewhere.
It came from somewhere. And when you die on front page news like that just seems crazy to me.
In a city where that there's somebody had, again, for all of the stuff that happened, you had a bike stash, there's cameras everywhere, you're gonna be found. Like
have they found them though?
But that's what I'm saying. You have to be so brazen to the point where it's like, I'm gonna do this. I know all of these different details that lead up to this. Yeah, man, it's a crazy situation. This vigilante justice is going into a whole different category if we start not really paying attention to what the sentiment of the people is.
And that is what I am afraid of. So I'm
That
going to
is dark.
leave that right where it is, Tone. And
We're gonna need some raising.
I'm going to raise the bar up out of that segment.
All
Right?
right, man, let's raise it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you now in store to raise your bar.
Okay.
Now, Brother Tone, I'm going to start this Raising the Bar segment by talking about a dear friend of mine. Shout out to the homie Will.
Shout out to Will, man.
My college roommate. So, like, I've known this brother for, it's been years now, at least 15, or more. And he just had a son. So now I'm feeling like
brother.
an uncle. Now, famously, faithful listeners of the show will know I am a deadbeat uncle. I rarely ever see my nephews because I'm never home in Baltimore. And then the relationship of the family is not always great. But I show love when I can. They just don't know me.
Is that fame or infamy?
I couldn't tell you. But I want to say that now I feel like I have a fresh start, a new lease on life. And I'm trying to be more present in Lil Neff's life.
You doing the Brian McKnight. You only paying attention to the new kids, not the old kids.
Precisely.
I got you.
Now, also, during this time of the year, this was, Neff's first Thanksgiving. So his grandparents were in town, and I had the chance to kick it with Will's parents. Now, his pops was somebody I never really met, only in passing. This was our first time actually getting a chance to, like, kick it and build. And he said something that was profound. And it's almost trivial how simple it was, but it resonated with me that day heavily. All he said was, if you don't do it, it won't get done. Right? Like, that's pretty simple. But it was like, fam, when the time comes for you to realize, like we mentioned at the top of the show, like, you're in your own way, all it takes is that message to come through. Right? And as I was doing that, or rather, once I had this message, he said it in a joking manner. He also insulted me and my injuries and all types of shit. It was hilarious, real old man candor.
So that's why you understood it.
Sure.
Okay.
If that played a role in it, I would say so. But I took that with me throughout the week, right? You ever get some information that it just kind of sits with you and you're just trying to let it play out to figure out how it fits into your life retroactively. And as I'm going through, I had to go to my storage unit. I had to drop off my materials that I use for my roll up and roll out class. That's Wednesdays at 8 p.m. if you want to come up and get your stretch on. Nonetheless, in my storage unit, I opened one of my lockers and I have a library of books in there that I never really read. Mm-hmm. And I just grabbed one. And that one that I happened to grab was The Art of War. It was by Stephen Pressfield. Mm-hmm. Now, famously, you also gave me Turning Pro.
Yep.
Years ago, and that was one of my favorite books that, really helped me get through that next level in life. And I think somebody took it from me, actually. I got to go back and find it.
They stole your knowledge, bro.
Nonetheless, the new knowledge came from The Art of War. And as I'm diving into this book, The War of Art. As I'm diving into this book, I'm really unpacking my shit. He's really laying it out, pretty much telling you about fighting resistance every day. And the resistance comes in so many different forms, whether it's self-doubt, whether it's excuses, whether it's coming from your family, the people closest to you. It can be a myriad of different ways that this resistance can come. I couldn't help but compare that to the wellness world where we come from, specifically in strength and conditioning, when I think about resistance training.
Okay.
And we talk about the way that you grow, the way that you advance, the way that you make change in the body has to be specifically from the said principles, specific adaptations to impose demands. You really got to calculate this boring routine, but incrementally make sure you increase the weight that you're doing, the push, the pull, whatever it needs to be. And I'm thinking about this juxtaposition between the two. And I'm like, man, I feel like there's a through line between waking up and fighting the resistance to putting off of the work that you need to do, whatever that work is inherently. I feel like everyone has their own special niche, but then also everyone has their own individual pursuit that comes with a task that they need to complete. And only you know that task. It's not like someone else can do the work for you. You have to show up and do that own work. Transversely, you got to show up and do that same work when you're in the gym. Like when you're trying to better yourself, when you're trying to be the healthiest version of you. And it really just kind of took me down this path of stumbling into some of my own work And this was back when my segment for the faithful listeners of the show was called Lyrical Exercise.
Okay.
You remember those days, Tone?
I definitely do.
Years ago. Now we've transitioned into Raising the Bar, but in that Lyrical Exercise segment, I was talking about a warrior must be a warrior, right? And when it's time to fight, you must show up as the divine self.
Okay.
At the top of the show, I talked about battles, right? When you are facing this world that we in right now, the war of art, the war of yourself, it's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. Whether you're 3 feet or 8'1", you gotta wake up and fight something. And when you get into that fight, you have to think about it in the sense of restoring your karma, right? That was the language that I was using before. And when you think about your karmic energy, it's almost something that like you have to do. It's accumulated, right? So when you don't fight, you're being selfish. When you fight, you have to fight to maintain this balance of this world, of this realm that you're into. Mm-hmm. And I think that was something that was really resonate with me as I was looking through these notes and I'm talking. I'm like, damn, I was really, laying it out there for the people to pick up from back in the day. Mm-hmm. Now, Brother Tone, with all of this that I've laid out, we went from everywhere from, me being a deadbeat uncle to getting insulted by, It
was a journey.
It was a journey.
Okay.
When I'm thinking about resistance and fighting that battle of excuses and just procrastination and the parallel of having resistance training, what comes to mind for you as far as how you approach that in your life?
I think it is quite literally a daily practice. It's not something that is ever completely won. And it's also something that as my base practice needs, it's something that I feel the consistency of showing up in one area helps me prepare for another area. So I'm at the phase of working out where I don't need somebody to push me, incentivize me, or make that something that I get any celebration for.
Stop right there before you go any further. You mentioned that as being the phase. Was that something you had to overcome?
No, and that's what I was about to get into. At some point in time, yes. At actually multiple different points in time, I had to overcome whether or not my relationship with health and wellness was going to be the same as it once was. I can think of before I got into it, that was a thing that I had to find. That wasn't something that I just came in with. I didn't have a lot of people. If I wasn't playing a sport specifically, nobody was telling me to exercise. It wasn't until I got into my phase of my life where I was in the gym every day and I was just kind of like, oh, this is somewhere I'm going to be regardless of whoever else is here. Matter of fact, I'm going to be here twice a day and everybody that's here is going to associate me with being inside this actual facility, So from then onward, my relationship had to evolve, much like I had to evolve, right? It went from me just loving this space to me having to work in that space. And for you working in the same environment that you loved, it's going to change that love eventually, right? For me being a person who was a worker in that environment to me being a person who was trying to own my own in that environment, the love had to change again. And then, from losing that love and not being able to sustain a business at a time that it just honestly, everything was going in the opposite direction to coming back and still finding, okay, I still want to be around and connected to this, but it can't look and feel the same way that I had before. That's also some level of that change happening, right? I put that into context of the measures that come from the fitness side do correlate to how you have to show up for what I think he calls the muse in the book. The muse is not something that is going to be with you all the time. You have to kind of work that out almost like a muscle. It's points when if I'm waiting for me to be motivated enough to work out, I'm not going to have that same level of motivation every single day. But the habit of me working out, that's not even a debate. If I'm an artist and I just wait until I felt creative to start to create, realize how you're setting yourself up with something that might be beautiful for your inspiration, but you can't build a business off of what your whim is. It's not, nobody else inside the world is going to move like that based off of how you feel. So to show up for the muse every day and put that energy, that effort, and that feeling into you doing something to exercise that creative muscle, doing something to let your inner voice speak a little louder, doing something to actually bring to life a vision that you have is very much like the same mechanism that you would have to put into showing up and changing your physical body. These are both canvases that you can decide how you want them to look. It's going to take a certain amount of effort for you to make it look like that. And at any point in time, you don't decide to show up for that, you won't get that result.
Yeah, I think you're really zeroing in on the correlation between the two. And an example that came to mind when you were talking about the book was Stephen Pressfield talked about the job of a writer. Yeah. He was like, a writer wakes up, does what they got to do, but they write from 9 to 5, and that's the end of their writing day. That's habitual, religious, that's every day. He was like, now, the work that comes from that, it could be good, it could be bad, but undoubtedly, I'm waking up and writing from 9 to 5 and living with that practice, right? Living with that consistency is going to allow you to paint on that canvas, right? If you do something enough times, you might just get good at it from putting in the hours and the work and the repetitiveness of it. Otherwise, you just going to be shooting shot in the dark. And like you said, hustling on the whim is not going to be something that can be scaled.
It's not scalable, but more importantly, you put so much pressure on it to perform that might not necessarily be at all connected to what your expectation is. Because you decided to put it out whenever you decided to or however you wanted to do, it's not happening in a vacuum. There's still a whole ass world that's happening around you that has to have some interaction with what you just put out. That is another labor of that art. Hey, you can put this out, and if you don't have it in the context of which people can understand, it might not land the way that you need it to land. So you have to check the ego, much like how you talked about at the top of the show, and really reevaluate that.
That's all I got on that. No notes. Sliding out of the Raising the Bar segment. Again, folks, we are dropping gems in this segment. And if you're not picking them up, y'all here losing.
Come on now.
And if you're losing, you're not working. If you're not working, you ain't relaxing responsibly, brother.
You can't relax. You're stressed.
You can't stress.
Fuming. Had it up to here. You can't even put this together, man. But I'm telling you that it is now time for this Relax Responsibly segment. Now, Kyle, you mentioned a good piece of your repertoire earlier in the show. What is this Relax Responsibly brought to you in part by?
This is brought to you in part by me, goddammit, and my offerings. That is Roll Up and Roll Out, and that is also my elevated yoga class, where I provide a space for mindful marijuana use, for mobility, as well as for a yoga class and weekend flow. So Wednesdays at 8 p.m. or Saturdays at 11 a.m., come flow with me.
That's what's up, man. How was you relaxing this week?
I was not relaxing this week.
Okay.
I was actually all over the place. And again, I'm using this segment to put myself in a future tense, sort of a audio vision board, if you will.
Okay, I like it.
This is my last year. Last year, you too, that we not going to be at Art Basel. All right.
I was pretty close this year.
I mean, I've been close a lot of years. The arguably the thing that was stopping me one year was my mom's B-Day falls on the 6th. So it was one of those things like I want to celebrate
happy birthday to moms, for sure.
Definitely happy birthday to her. But this is my last year. I will not
Mom, you're going to get
there.
a car next year.
Last year, I did some planning for Art Basel when I was working at the mural painting company. We had to paint some walls down there. That was a whole shady dealing situation. But I planned for this event that I wasn't at. And I'm tired of not being there. I'm ready for my artistic prowess to be represented.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. This year, I was supposed to pull up with the homie Ed, and just ride out down there. That's what I was looking forward to. But again, all of the different situations that led into that not happening. I'm looking forward to how we make that impactful landing next year. I too.
We said it on the mic. It's got to happen. Brother, how was you relaxing this week?
Man, I was paxing and relaxing, my friend.
Okay, I see what you did there.
I was paxing and relaxing while I dove deep into a mindful stroll. Now, for those that don't know, the Pax is something that I have been a fan of for quite some time. I have been around since the first edition.
Early adapter.
I was definitely very early to the party. I was really concerned with the whole combustion process, and I was like, how am I going to change this up? But now, Kyle, I'm on my third version of this, and I seriously have to tell you, I'm a good fan of the flavor profile that comes off of it. I'm a good fan of the portability, and above all, it helps me keep the aroma of my house grown and sexy and keep them neighbors out my damn business.
It's quite discreet.
But I'm going to tell you right now, man, an elevated stroll is something that I find is one of my most relaxing hobbies as of late. Because I got to be honest with you, man, it's kind of like taking a personal meeting of the minds just with me.
Yeah.
It's something that is in that movement meditation, if you will, Kyle. And I like to notice what I notice, and that often helps me solve some of the more complex problems that I'm exploring at that particular point in time. So I take my little trusty vape, I hit the road, and this week I was really trying to unpack some of the things that was on my mind, man. And I definitely got some relaxation out of that situation, man.
I mean, I'm always here for the staff meeting. You know what I'm saying? Just a little self-talk, a little pep talk. I was heavy into the nature walks. I coined the term ancestral voyage.
Okay.
Was what I was doing.
I don't know if I'm going to allow you to say that you coined an ancestral voyage on this microphone specifically.
For my walks, that's what I called it.
That's what you called your walks. Okay. I'm going to let you rephrase that.
The ancestral voyage. You know,
that's mighty Columbus of you.
I'm walking with my legacy, so to speak.
I'm not mad at you.
And those behind me that are propelling me forward.
I see where you were going, but I just wanted to go ahead and coin
if Columbus could still land, bitch, we can still land.
All right, I'm not.
Shout out
to
Stove God Cooks, man. That guy got bars. Again, the walk is something that is necessary to reset the mental, and it's even more imperative in this time of year, specifically in the wintertime when the sun goes down a lot sooner. You have to get outside. Cold or not, get your ass outside for some fresh air.
It's needed, man. It's needed. And hopefully y'all hear some of that and you take a stroll however you need to and get the right kind of mindset you need to be on, man. I like to do this stroll sans music sometimes, man. When I'm really trying to go through it, I don't need no extra tunes. I don't need no extra voices.
You just got to hear the soundtrack.
All I need is one mic. The soundtrack to the city.
To the city.
Exactly. Now, sometimes you hear some stuff that'll come from a cross conversation that'll shake your whole world up. But sometimes it's also like, all right, I need to move away from this individual. So it definitely helps you navigate everything that's going on there, man. That's how I was relaxing, bro.
Sound like you're hopeful for something, Tony.
Kyle, I am definitely hopeful this week, Kyle. Most of all, I'm hopeful to see calmer days and calmer times coming ahead inside of this, closing chapter 2024. I think there's been some stress that I could actually feel from all the stuff that we talked about earlier on the show and all the things that we have brought in from past episodes. This next chapter of America seems like it's going to be something that might be in for some crazy ups and downs, man. So I truly do hope for calmer days and more peaceful times.
I couldn't agree to that more, man. I am hopeful that each individual out there approaches the battle ahead with the best version of themselves. On a side tangent, I want to give a specific hope out to the T-Mobile in Brownsville and hope that they stop playing Robert Kelly's music.
Robert is still playing, bro.
I went there. I heard not one, not two, not three, but 4 of those songs playing where it had to be a playlist at that point. And I just hope that they do better. So I'm calling them out specifically. I'm calling them in.
Call them in before you call them out.
Rather, before calling them out. Get y'all shit together.
Yeah. You can't have it. Like, if you're going to play the Robert, you definitely have to do so in your own confines. Don't do this in
rest
public.
of the music was edited. I'm just trying to understand how the social, compass wasn't edited.
I could tell you there's somebody of a certain age. Like I told you before.
These were young folks.
I'm telling you, there's somebody of a certain age that works in that establishment that might not have been in the front, but they damn sure was in the back. And in that demographic, I come across this type of person every day, and I may or may not be related to them. So I gotta say, I just told you that some people ain't canceling Robert, bro.
Do better. And I'm gonna just leave that there. Do better.
Kyle, if we're gonna encourage people to do better, they're gonna need to keep up with us. Where could they find us, the good folks at Off the Strength? Always gonna be that moral compass for you out there.
You can visit Instagram, find us at _, or if you're in the greatest city in the world, sometimes that is New York City, you could come on down to Rockefeller Center with all the other goddamn tourists and candy canes.
It's a lot of them.
And just the mouth breathers. And you can
got the off-brand mascots is outside too. Don't forget that. Visit
Rockefeller Center where you can visit Newsstand Studios. You can see us record live and direct in the block of the Rock, if you will. If you can't make it in, you could always visit on Instagram at Rockefeller Center or X at Rock Center NYC.
Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
KR Jones.
Peace and much love to y'all out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace.
What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blogs. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right.